So today I'm going to be talking about, well, actually, I was, for this ISU presentation, I was told to read 2 books and to come up with one movie. And my movie is To Save a Life. My first book that was a necessary thing was The Year of Living Biblically. And my movie, or sorry, my second book was the Bible. And out of those 3 texts, after examining them, I came up with the inquiry question, or just a question, asking myself, does having faith, specifically Christianity, help or hinder people in our world today? And this is kind of the question that defines this whole presentation, and we'll be exploring it through these novels and through the what I have to show today. And so after reading all these books fully and studying them over the past couple of weeks, I came up with an answer to my previous question. And this is what that answer is. Having faith is an elemental way to help people in our world today because it's better to trust in the truth than to fall for the false. And basically what that means, in simpler diction, would be having faith is a good thing, and it helps people not fall into bad things by having faith in something that's good and concentrating their efforts into that. And so just to clarify things, I have a definition of faith, and this is from the internet, but it came up with 4 main topics, and I'll show it in a second after I read them. It is confidence or trust in a person or thing, faith in another's ability, that's the first one. Second one is belief that is not based on proof. He had faith, the hypothesis would be sustained by fact. So that's the second definition. A third one would be belief in God are the doctrines and teachings of religion, the firm faith of the pilgrims. Not sure what that one means, but that's the third definition I came up with. Fourth one would be belief in anything as a code of ethics, a standards of merit, etc., or to be of the same faith with somebody concerning honesty. So those are 4 definitions of faith that I have presented to you. Hopefully from those you could grasp a round or a round definition of what faith is, just a summing definition of what it is to you. And also to clarify things, I have a definition of Christianity. Actually, it's just definition of Christian. As an adjective, it is of, relating to, or professing Christianity or its teachings. That's Christian as an adjective, and here it is as a noun. A person who has received Christian baptism or is a believer in Jesus Christ and his teachings. And those are just 2 also definitions from the internet, showing it as an adjective or a noun, whichever you'd like to take it in for this context, but it just is supposed to give you a better understanding of what it is. And so here's my first novel. It was The Year Living Biblically by A.J. Jacobs. And the question that I've come up with for this book, or discussion point really, is Christianity is not a religion. And that seems like a statement, but after explaining it, it'll make a lot more sense. So to give you a better idea of what this book is, I have looked up the author's website, and this is his description of his own book. So I'll just read that now, or at least a portion of it. It says, "The Year of Living Biblically is about my quest to live the ultimate biblical life, to follow every single rule in the Bible as literally as possible. I obey all the famous ones, the 10 Commandments, love thy neighbor, be fruitful and multiply. 10 Commandments should be well known. Love thy neighbor is basically be kind to the people around you, and be fruitful and multiply is to have children. But also hundreds of ignored ones, such as do not wear clothes of mixed fibers, do not shave your beard, and stone adulterers, which are quite a few of those in our society today. Why? It says, well, I grew up in a very secular home. I'm officially Jewish, but I'm Jewish in the way that Olive Garden is an Italian restaurant, so he's not very Jewish. I'd always assume religion would just wither away, and we'd live a neo-enlightenment world, which is such as neo-colonialism, after colonialism, so kind of post-religion, I guess you could say, he's thinking. I was, of course, spectacularly wrong. It says, so, was I missing something essential to being a human being? I'd say so. Or was half the world deluded? And so that's his description of his own novel, and my summary would be that in the book he takes the Bible and he looks up every single rule that he can find for life in the Bible, and he tries to live for a whole year by those rules, and there's well over 700 that he comes up with, and he tries to live by every single one of those rules and explore all different areas of them, and it's very, very hard to do because it's not necessarily meant to be done, but I'll get onto that later. He draws a lot of conclusions in this book and really portrays Christianity as a religion, lumping it in with Judaism, Catholicism, and like Mormonism and a bunch of other things that seem to the modern or popular thinking is that they're the same as Christianity, but they're not. And those are religions, but Christianity is not. And just to help prove that point, I have a video that I'm going to show. And it's called Why I Hate Religion But Love Jesus, spoken word. And I'll just show you a short clip of that film.
What if I told you Jesus came to abolish religion? What if I told you voting Republican really wasn't his mission? What if I told you Republican doesn't automatically mean Christian, and just because you call some people blind doesn't automatically give you vision? I mean, if religion is so great, why has it started so many wars? Why does it build huge churches but fails to feed the poor? Tell single moms God doesn't love them if they've ever had a divorce, but in the Old Testament, God actually calls religious people whores. Religion might preach grace, but
now what we can draw from that video is just more examples really of how Christianity is not a religion, it is a faith. And Jesus came to abolish religion, as it says in the video. And Jesus is the main figure really in Christianity. And we can really connect that to the book because he tries to live like an Israelite would back in the Bible days, in the Old Testament, but the way that he does it is not in context of our world today, and it seems out of place, really. And we would see it if we saw somebody living in old Israelite ways like he was, we'd be like, well, there's another homeless person on the street or something, because it's just so odd now. And really, why it is like that is because a lot of the stuff that they did back then doesn't apply now, because Jesus came and died for our sins, and he took away the need to sacrifice, he took away the need to stone adulterers and stuff like that. And a lot of these rules and stuff were for hygiene, because they didn't have things back then that we do now, such as running water and toilets and sewage systems and stuff like that. And so a lot of these rules were really for the better of them then, but they do not apply now. And that's really where the book slips up, and that's why I didn't necessarily enjoy reading it. So basically, what the main point for this novel is that Christianity is not a religion, it is a faith. And because of this, it comes back to our thesis here, saying, having faith is an elemental way to help people in our world today, because it is better to trust in the truth than to fall for the false. And so that's the underlying issue in this piece here. Now on to my second text which is the Bible. It's kind of a long story, well, not really a long story, but it is a story of how I got this as my next text. And it was very hard to come up with one that would relate to Save a Life, which is the movie, which I'll explain soon, and my first book, which is the one I just explained before, the Year of Living Biblically. And so the Bible is the perfect match for that, because it is the, I guess you could say, Christian book, and it's the guidebook, really, of the Christian belief, and so Christian faith, actually. So I took it on as a second novel, and here is the point that I came out with for it. It is the faith and religion are two different aspects, and you can go back to the movie that the film that we watched there, the Why I Hate Religion But Love Jesus one, and it talks about how Jesus is on a different spectrum than religion, and it talks about how he came to abolish it, and it's kind of the same thing with faith and religion, because Jesus is, we have to have faith in Jesus, and religion requires just following a bunch of rules, as it says in the YouTube video, which I would really encourage you to check out, and there will be a link to that, as well as the movie. But the rest of the video kind of goes on and talks about how, or in more detail and more reasoning why, Jesus is different than religion, and religion is not Christianity, and Christianity is a faith instead of religion. And that really comes back to our same point again. Faith and religion are two different aspects, and they do not go together in any way, and they just don't fit. And I can come back to the thesis on that one again too. It says, having faith is an elemental way to help people in our world today, because it is better to trust in the truth than to fall for the false. And you're probably getting tired of hearing that now, but it's the underlying topic throughout this entire talk, this entire presentation, and hopefully it is getting through. My next thing is the movie, To Save a Life movie, and well, I would really encourage you to watch this movie, but because there's not enough time to do that at the moment, I will redo a short summary of it right from the rating site. So here's the plot summary for To Save a Life, and I'll fill you in on the details. Jake Taylor has everything. He has a beautiful girl, he's a champion of basketball and beer pong, and everyone loves him. Then an old childhood friend, whom Jake used to be friends with, commits suicide. Jake begins to think. He wonders what he could have done to save his friend's life. A youth minister tells him that Jake needs God, and so he becomes a Christian. However, things start to spin out of control. His dad is cheating on his mom, his girlfriend is pregnant, and his former friends ridicule and mock him. During all this, Jake is going to realize just what it means to be a Christian and how to save a life. So that's just the internet rating site summary of the movie. Basically, his life is just going down the tube, on expression, but he turns it around, and he comes back from all these things that's going on, like his girlfriend being pregnant, and his mother and father who are divorcing because his father cheated on his mom, and he turns it around and is able to make it so that he helps people who are in the same situation as his friend was, who he rejected and who ended up committing suicide. And this movie really shows how faith can help people, and faith like this, in becoming a Christian and having this faith, really helped Jake, the main character, to turn his life around and make it to help other people instead of just himself. And it's a really good movie. I definitely recommend watching To Save a Life. And so, in summary, just go back to the first question. It says, does having faith, specifically Christianity, help or hinder people in our world today? And so, my answer to that question, and for the final time I'll read this, Having faith is an elemental way to help people in our world today, because it is better to trust in the truth than it is to fall for the false. And that's just a really good thought to carry with you. And I've proved it by showing that Christianity is not a religion. It's a faith. And so we could reword this by being a Christian. We can help people in our world today, because it's better to trust in the truth of the Bible than to fall for the false of this world, which is very seemingly around us. And in the Bible it says, my point is that faith and religion are two different aspects, meaning that religion is seemingly a good thing in some ways, but also very, very bad, yet faith is so much better. And then for the movie, my point, living with faith is a good thing, and it's shown through Jake when he turns his life around and he makes it to help people instead of helping himself. And he brings people up from the depression, and they're going to commit suicide actually at one point, and he ends up stopping it from happening. He saves their lives. Title of the movie. And it's a really, really neat story about that, and it's really clear how this shows all of that. And I'd like to end off by reading what Jesus said to the religious teachers of his day. And it is it's in Matthew 15. I'm reading from the NLT version, but you probably won't know what that means. It's New Living Translation. It is it's verse 7 to verse 14, and these are Jesus' words, actually, to the Pharisees, who were the religious teachers of the day. And I'm reading it off my iPhone. It says, "You hypocrites, Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you, for he wrote, 'These people honor me with their lips, but with their hearts are far from me. Their worship is farce. They teach man-made ideas as commands from God.'" So basically, they're teaching things that they've made up as words from God, which is the case for a lot of people today. They don't teach the truth. Then Jesus called to the crowd to come in here. "Listen," he said, "and try to understand. It is not what goes into your mouth that defiles you. You are defiled by the words that come out of your mouth." Then the disciples came to him and asked, "Do you realize you offended the Pharisees by what you just said?" So these guys who Jesus is mocking, he is kind of up in their faces about this kind of stuff, and they are not happy about it because they're being kicked off the pedestal, for lack of a better term. And Jesus replied to his disciples, "Every plant not planted by my heavenly Father will be uprooted, so ignore them. They are blind guides leading the blind. And if one blind person guides another, they will both fall into a ditch." And that really is the concrete thing of what I'm trying to say. Thank you.